turn.
Christmas tree.
Hello, friends. My name's host Eric. And today we ask the provocative question, would you play as you live if life were an MMORPG, a massively multiplayer online role-playing game? If life were such, would you be playing your character in the same fashion that you're playing your life? Of course, an MMORPG is designed to be a simulation of, or at least some of them are, a simulation of part of a life lived. So it sort of excises the boring parts, right? We try to give you the experience of living the life as a given character in an MMORPG, and the total amount of time that you're spending of your actual life is less filled with boring parts when you're spending that time simulating this make-believe life. And I guess that's why they call it the blues, as Elton John famously said, I believe. Something and something, something and something. I don't like that song.
And I guess that's why they call it the blues. Yeah, that's Elton John.
It's not a good song.
I think you're a good song.
Sorry.
Ooh. Hi, everyone.
Elton John was in the movie Kingsman Golden Circle, where he played a kidnapping victim.
Yes.
And who was freed by the Kingsman at the end of the end of his long ordeal. Forced to play his songs for the psychotic mid-America minded sort of ultimate soccer mom drug lord main villain.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. So it was said, and so it was known. All who heard knew that it was true. Hear ye, hear ye. Hi, philosophical thinker.
Hey, PT.
If your life were a role-playing game instead of an actual life, would you be playing it the same way you are living your actual life?
I'm wondering, we probably would have met in the RPG game.
Possibly.
We did meet through the internet, so.
Well, it's interesting to imagine.
Happy 420.
It's interesting to imagine living actual life by sort of launching macros. You know, like, okay, I'm going to execute, macro C where I work for the next 16 hours ceaselessly on task B that I've decided I should direct my attention to. And then sort of come back at the end of the 16 hours and go, what the fuck? This isn't what I told you to spend time doing. If I could actually be my own boss, I would be very disappointed in myself because I'd be like, okay, 16 hours ago, I told you and you agreed that we were going to work on Project Meow. Now I come back 16 hours later and you've completed projects Meow and Meow and you haven't even begun Project Meow. What's going on here, Eric? So it's like if life were a macro, of course, then if you could execute macros, then you wouldn't have to worry about your own obedience to the thing. It would just be automatic and your body would suddenly go and go through these actions whether you liked it or not,
Mm-hmm. Have you ever watched Sword Art Online? It kind of goes into this question briefly. Ask PT.
No, I've never heard of it before.
Me neither. I have a story about a sword, though.
Do tell.
So, one year I went with my friends to medieval times. And it was a lot of fun. And if for those who don't know what medieval times is, it's a medieval stage play of like jousting.
Jousting and dinner.
And dinner. You get to eat with your hands.
It's like dinner theater, Middle Ages horses and jousting.
Yes. There's a queen, there's a king, there's knights, there's teams. It's very entertaining. I was happy to be there. But they also sell like medieval style merch. And
if you want to drink your Coke out of a pewter mug, for example, it's a good place to go to get your pewter.
Yes, and whisper quietly to your server what you want to eat.
Get all your pewter needs met at medieval times.
Oh my gosh. So, yes, you do, because my friend decided, my ex-brother-in-law decided to go in with his friends on a sword.
Really?
Yes.
They had a team buy of a sword?
Yes, which I think...
Ill-advised. The story didn't end well.
No, because they were like, oh, we'll just like pass it off to each other and we'll all have it. You know, we'll all share it. No, it did not work that way. Like, at all. So the lesson is if you want to go in on a sword, it should be one person buying it.
Yeah. Because really, you get your money's worth out of purchasing a sword by spending quality time with it.
Right.
Caressing it to your bosom. And saying, I have the sword.
Exactly. Right. And it also asks the question, you know, if you need to go 3-way on a sword, should you be getting a sword?
If you gotta go 3-way on a sword, it's definitely an indulgence you don't need to be purchasing.
They were in their 20s, you know.
Sure.
Friendship is big in your 20s.
And who knows, Rachel? We don't know how many sword battles with brigands they had already undergone swordless. So
a lot. There were a lot. They loved medieval times.
Yeah, they may have had a personal need for a sword.
They did. If it wasn't going to be that, it was going to be a lightsaber, so...
Well, the other kind of thing you can purchase at medieval times, which is even more cool than a sword, is like a pewter goblin holding like a crystal sphere.
Yes, you can.
Those are really cool.
Yes, you can. That was a very hard place to that was a very hard place to get a gift from, because like everything was so that. Like for my dad, I got like a knight, like the pen. Because he's very into knights in medieval times and stuff, and history in general. So he loved that. And but for myself, like to buy something for myself, I had to settle on something that was not medieval times at all. Right. So
the question here, underlying the question that's being asked, is one of what comprises conscious decision making or application of will, and how time frame impacts that. Because the thing is, one of the factors of life not executing as a macro, for example, like, you know, we don't have the ability to say, all right, I know I'm not very disciplined, so I'm going to put on autopilot, work on homework for the next 4 hours, and then my body I will have no choice but to follow through with this course of action, even if I'm sitting there going like, I hate this, I wish it would stop, but I have no choice. It's not possible for us to do that, right? We can't compel ourselves to continue in other words, our metaphysical framing of our actions doesn't constrain our physical. So it's like, if I'm falling off of a building, I can't stop myself midway and say, no, I decided not to do that. But
you committed.
right. But the thing is, if I want to follow through on something that requires follow through over time, then I have to still be the same. In my mind, it seems like I got to still be the same person in that later point that I am now, and I'm not going to be. And what seems like the most engaging thing to deal with right now, and something that's this is really going to stay engaging for me to finish it long enough or whatever, is kind of just me fooling myself or whatever. I don't know what else to call it. So I'm curious as to notifications here, whether or not people are receiving notifications of this live stream. Normally,
that's a good question.
I'd expect more attendance at this time of day after 10 minutes or so. The other thing is, I tried to title what I thought I tried to give it what I thought was a provocative title to make people more likely to tune in. But I could just totally have misjudged.
I see it now. It came up now, but so we might be getting people late.
Anyway,
I'm on it.
It's
and I sit on everything.
Well, you didn't sit on that.
Thanks, Faye.
You would sit on everything for me, but you won't sit on that. Anyhow, I think it's an interesting question because if you were asked to decide how you would live, if basically like if you had to leave detailed instructions for a substitute teacher to come in and take over for you for 2 months while you went on vacation, and okay, this is what I need you to do to be me for the next 2 months, and you can give sort of general instructions like as long as you stay within a reasonable amount of hour constraints. Okay, well, I need you to get this thing done here that I've been working on. And when the person's just substitute you, they're going to presumably have all of your abilities, but none of your self-discipline limitations. How would you structure that? But of course, the key question also is that's saying if you didn't have to experience life, how would you do it? Or how, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I think that it's really, when you're talking about that, it made me think of all those child actors and like those decisions that they had to make at such a young age, but they don't. A lot of it, it's planned out for them until they get to the age of 18. And they can then, break contract or whatever, they don't have to.
But they go into that with some amount of inertia, obviously,
yeah,
and existing connections and all that kind of stuff.
So. Right. It fascinates me a little bit, but I don't envy it.
I think a lot of intuitives probably have this same phenomenon that I have, which is, you've got a lot of potentially good ideas or things you'd like to do in theory. Projects you'd like to complete in theory, and visions you'd like to see realized in theory, but whether or not, but there's only a finite number of hours. Part of the problem is that the metaphysical types, the intuitives, and your metaphysicians, and basically INFJ, ENFJ, INTP, maybe INTJ as well. I'm not sure, but it's because we're so caught up in the meanings of things that we sort of misframe reality in favor of turn-based time and against real time. So it's very easy in turn-based time to say, I'm going to build a bridge. It's very difficult in real time to actually build that bridge, and it's very quick. It's very quick to say,
Ooh.
Step 1 is meow. Step 2 is build the bridge. Step 3 is meow. Step 4 is meow. Okay, the thing is, you can get from step 1 to step 4 in 3 seconds saying it out loud, not in reality. So, metaphysician types are likely to have this problem, the same problem I have, which is probably going to be framed as a lack of self-discipline, or an inability to follow through, or an executive function deficit. That's the thing. It's the intuition that renders externalities into knowledge objects. So that includes time. It takes the dynamics of time as an external factor and renders it into a knowledge object. In contrast, SI experiences the time and extrapolates and assumes from his own experience the similarity externally. But that's not the point. The point is that metaphysical stuff operates in what you call turn-based time, which is to say it's made out of words and symbols, not actual experiences. I can refer to the experience of listening to a 5-minute song in 1 second and convey meaning about that. You might have her mistyped, Bubble Puppy. If in fact ESFJs really have better NI than ESTJs, I wouldn't say that explanation would make sense. It is conceivable that say, for example, certain kinds of verbal NI is more a strength of, it's like a less of a deficit, I guess, for ESFJs, and certain kinds of visual NI is less of a deficit for ESTJs. That would make sense as sort of the physical aspect of it and metaphysical aspect aligned with the metademia. Using SI as a role function is fucking exhausting, is it? What do you mean by role function? You mean second slot? I don't use that term, so I'm not sure.
I wanted to say that I'm so glad that you, in the live stream this morning, had mentioned that each ISFJ kind of has their own experience, so they all can be kind of like different, the same but different. Because I have an ISFJ cousin, and it made me think about, she made me think about how, like she's SI Dom, so it's going to be different for every single SI Dom, their experience. Like,
the similarities that they each link to their own experience, but since their own experiences differ, it's hard to call it a meaningful similarity in some sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're talking 8th slot, Tiny Man 6'6". When you say when Tiny Man 6'6" says role function, she's referring to what I normally call 8th slot function, or I just usually call it that. So I call it the balanced one, but okay, so I mean, I have the same experience with SE as a role function, sort of. It's not so much that I find it exhausting as I'm prickly about SE. I like to not have other people pushing me to SE at all. Okay. Tiny Man 6'6", that's an interesting, that must be a socionics thing, I guess, that in the 8th slot function, society expects it of you, but you're not down to provide for that expectation.
Yeah, for instance, my nails are like a thing of SI 8th slot. Like, someone with a SI, I think, higher would take care. My nail polish is all chipped, and it has resin in it constantly under the nails. Like, they just forever will. And that's my experience with that.
Okay, so what I would say, though, Tiny Man 6'6" is sort of, I guess, sort of correcting it, I guess, if you want to say it that way, or change, to to add something to it that's not exactly exclusive, but I would say that the 6 slot function is the one that society expects for you to provide. You do provide, and you provide somewhat grudgingly, and that you don't like others to try to push it onto you. I think the 8 slot function, again, you do things society expects it of you, but you think you provide plenty of it, and it's like you really don't like it when other people force your hand on it at all, or police you about it.
Yeah.
It's like I can handle being policed on TE. I understand that I'm expected to do TE. I will provide TE, and my TE might be inadequate. That's all part of the deal with 6 slot function. It doesn't make me happy. I don't love it. I won't do it for my own life, but I'll do it for society. In contrast, SE I will do for my own sake anytime I feel like it, but I don't like doing it at the behest of other people. So it's kind of like 6 and 8 are reversed like that, you know?
I will say I agree with 6 slot because for me 6 slot is NE, right? And
No. 6 slot is FI.
Oh, FI. Oh God. Oh my God. When people expect that of me, no.
No. Listen, it's like this. It's society. When I say society expects it of you, you assume with your 6 slot function that if your 2nd slot function is inadequate, that you'll have to provide your 6th slot, and you're willing to.
Yeah.
So what that means basically is if your FE subtle cues aren't significant, you're going to have to reveal like, hey, I really actually do feel strongly about this.
Oh yeah, that happens.
That's step 2 if your FE doesn't work, right? One of the things about both of us though is we play so much FE defense that it almost never happens that it requires any. We don't even get to the subtle hint part, right? And so we're both playing defense all the time, so it's weird. But the thing is, the difference is that you won't feel a reason to complain if somebody says to you, "Listen, you needed to convey to me how you felt about this. You didn't convey that to me. How am I supposed to know that you didn't like the zoo when every inch of the way you kept telling me what a great time you were having and everything?" You'll be accepting of that kind of critique ultimately. Okay?
Yes.
So that means you'll be accepting the fact that the world can reasonably demand of you to be honest about your own feelings if they can catch you like that. If in fact if in fact you after going to the zoo and spending all day saying you loved it, tell the person, they say, hey, let's go to the zoo again the next week. Then you're in a bind because you're like, actually, I despised every moment of that. And now I have to continue pretending like I like the zoo. So anyway, the thing is,
I can always tell when I am lying about that too. Because there'll be a pause and a laugh or something like, ha, no, I'm not going to go to this. I'm like, ha, funny. That's a funny joke.
But here's the thing. The difference between that and SI is you don't accept that you're subject to critique on SI grounds any more than I do than I'm subject to critique on SC grounds. And you're likely to make critiques of other people on SI grounds, or if it's SI, FI run amok. So I find, yes, Bubble Puppy, that's a good way of summing it up. But no, yes, actually, yes. I would say 8th is less conscious, so it's almost invisible. It's less begrudging. If you're doing it for yourself, it's just sort of happening without you noticing it at all. Whereas if you're asked to provide it, then you notice it extremely. And you're like, I don't like being providing at your behest.
Yes.
So, for example, you don't like taking any kinds of critique or suggestion or anything about SI shit. Like, if I were to tell you, come on, Rachel, you need to compromise on your amount of sleep, for example, you wouldn't. In general, you would put up with a certain amount of compromise for a short period of time for FE reasons, and then you'd freak out.
Yeah.
Same thing with SE for me. I don't like being held to account for Well, you said that you were going to do meow, Eric, and then you didn't. That's one of my least favorite experiences.
Not fun.
And yet I'm guilty of that thing and can be correctly accused of that fairly often anyway, despite my best efforts. So that's an example of 8 slot. You know, I don't understand it very well. It's there for me to do my own shit that I feel like doing. So that's why I'm live streaming again, you know?
Yeah.
And it's not when it's not.
BRB, I'm gonna get my chapstick.
Okay. Hi, Brad Yanis. Get ready for some skepticism. Brad Yanis came in and declared himself an INTP. That it may be common typological community courtesy to take people's self-typings at face value, but around here, you're likely to face a little pushback on that, or at least a little initial skepticism. Just nothing to do with you, just the reality of people of self-identifying as INTP, whether you are one or not, you know. So does that work differently for censors and judges, 8 slot of security? You mean for perceivers and judges? Because there are censors who are judgers. Right. See, alt perspective is typically the perspective of INTPs. He says, I am the only true INTP. Everyone else is confused INFPs or ENTPs. Fair enough, alt. Fair enough. Doesn't affect me, so I don't care. Oh, yeah, my bad. Perceivers, says Chris Chapin. Okay, well, then I would say I don't. Yes, I think it does. I think it does. Only an online test? Boy, those are the best kind of tests. You don't have to leave your house. Oh, you mean like a multiple choice test?
Oh.
Y'all really need to watch type tips? Me? Why do I need to watch type tips? I have to say, Tiny Man 66 though. I expanded my understanding of 8 slot and 6 slot and how they relate to each other like that. Right there when you inform. So if you're saying, well, because you just learned something new from me that I learned from them, okay, fair enough argument. But I would say convince me it's not a fluke. I am wholly unconvinced by the wisdom of listening to people who are in the wrong frame of reference, which is what sociologists is. Sometimes they'll be right.
Hello.
I don't have enough faith in their rightness of their frame to assume that it's necessarily going to be time well spent. You could just make me mad by being wrong and yeah, you know. That's seeing the live stream serves my need. Right. In other words, in order to do what I want to do and be me in the way that I'm comfortable being, that would be no problem.
Good catch.
But there's also a revelatory about the limits of it. So when I'm being more self-disciplined, I'll also make a thumbnail for this live stream before I start the live stream. So just having a auto thumbnail. This time I just put an auto thumbnail, which means it's like how much enthusiasm I have for the thing will typically produce patience. So if I'm more enthusiastic about a given activity, then I'm more patient to do it right. But like in this one, it's not that I wasn't enthusiastic about live streaming. It's more just like I guess it's because we're kind of fitting it in here before dinner.
Yeah. What up, Lorna Nickel?
Hi, Lorna Nickel.
Oh, the PNP has joined us. She
What a
adds,
very noble, just and true kitty friend, with your meows and your smells and your meows.
where'd she go?
Hello, Dad.
What do you want? The usual?
Yeah,
Rice and chow mein?
and orange chicken and broccoli beef.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Orange chicken broccoli beef.
Yeah, sounds great.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
How can I confirm if I have an INTP? I took the Myers-Briggs test twice online. Well, in theory, you could type on me, you could pay me to type you, but I would say if you want to try to eliminate the possibility, which is the smart way to go about doing it, you're probably less likely to be any 1-2. In other words, if you're wrong about your type, you probably aren't any 1-2, but it's less likely that you aren't TI 1-2. In other words, if you were wrong, you're probably wrong about your N, not your T. So I would suggest that the first thing you do is a certain ideational exercise. Every Sunday morning in the afternoon, I attempt to go outside and earn a boon. I dig in holes and places all around, looking for a treasure I have yet been found. You complete the poem, trying to maintain the same meter and rhyme sequence, and do 4 lines and have it already done like now. And you're probably an INTP. Or you're probably not. You're probably the end part correct.
I have a request.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't pulled any cards for me today yet, like even on my phone. Could we pull some cards for me?
Sure.
Whenever you'd like.
No problem, darling.
Thanks, babe. He truly is bad.
So I've got a good idea for how
Hey,
I'm
yourself.
going to pull cards today. I'm going to pull cards for the elements of the part of you that matches with the elements, right? So the 5 original elements: earth, fire, water, air, and spirit.
Ooh, okay.
So what I'm going to do is, wow, nope, I'm terrible at thinking of stuff like that on the spot. Okay, so you're probably then an ISTP, not an INTP. The fact that you just said it that way suggests that you're probably an ISTP because it's suggestive of objective self-criticism, which is more strongly correlative with TI than it is with FI.
Yes, Al is right. Eric's book is really worth going through, by the way. And it's worth the typing, too.
Okay, so instead of imagining actually that they're parts of yourself or whatever, you're gonna say that the self is made up of the 5 elemental self clones. So in other words, there's a person, a specific entity named Fire Rachel. And
Okay.
she represents all of your fire elements within you.
Ooh,
There's
Jutsu.
a specific character named Earth Rachel. She represents all of your earth qualities.
Okay.
These are pulling the cards for those people. Like I'm saying, there's
I
one card for each of the 5 elemental selves
of myself. Yeah, I need that right now.
Okay, so we're gonna go.
Or I could use it, I should say.
in the following order:
Could use a good elemental healing.
earth,
Yeah, you know, PT, earthy
Water.
stuff. Airy stuff indeed.
air, fire, and
Metal can sometimes considered.
spirit.
Oh
That's the
yeah,
last one.
spirit. How
Right,
could I
so
have forgotten?
earth. Rachel's earth card is.
The world.
Well, so your earthy parts are. So here I am. You know, pack that Big Mac truck in this little garage. That's what she said.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Thanks, babe.
Now this is the water. Page of Swords.
Feeling more
Your watery parts are feeling kind of a youthful activeness. Not necessarily productive because it's youthful. That's your moistest parts.
I like that.
Now here is your air. Yes, air.
Ooh, judgment.
Judgment. Your airy self. Your airy, wispy, windy self that blows through the trees is the one that's either the most sort of consciously judgmental part of you, perhaps, or is the one that you should listen to. I'm not sure. One of the two.
Well, it is my birth card. It's one of my birth cards. So I think I should listen to it.
Tiny Man 66. I hate to correct you on this, but you used the wrong preposition, I think, there. When you said you were isolated from mental illness. I think you meant you're isolated because of mental illness. If you really were isolated from mental illness, then you'd be immune to it.
Mm-hmm.
Now here is Rachel's fire self.
Ooh, the Emperor.
Don't fuck with Rachel's fire.
It's true.
Do not fuck with it.
It's true.
The Emperor is going to
Comes
hit you with
out.
that yellow stick.
Yup. On point.
And lastly, Spirit.
Oh.
Your spirit is, I can see this as the intuitive's problem. Right? If this is the burden of just about every, well, except for ENTJs and ENFJs.
Yeah.
Except for NI2O, this is the burden of every intuitive's spirit.
Mm-hmm. I do. That face motion, I do.
We're trying to determine where our spirit should drive us on a longer term level, and either we're having trouble figuring out exactly precisely enough what that is to execute it, or we're having trouble staying on the same conclusion long enough to execute it. So it makes sense that this is
that is me.
the
That's
intuitive
me.
two-sorted spirit choice-making beard grab decision card.
That's why I was like, when that Roman Catholic woman was nominated for Supreme Court, I was like, I hope your dad doesn't think that because I was raised Roman Catholic that I care anything about this woman, because I don't. So it's like, I constantly look at different angles of spirituality. I really do. And what up, Superwalker? Spin a while.
Bubble Puppy, interestingly, no, I generally don't. There seems to be, for example, a difference between working memory and SI. So if you were to test an ENTJ's working memory, how many numbers could they keep track of before they lost track of the numbers you were saying? It would be 7 or so, about the same as for anybody else, maybe 6. On the other hand, if you ask them to list a sequence of 6 small events that occurred this morning, they have no possibility of doing it. Whereas SI DOMs have no problem doing that. So clearly, working memory, for example, doesn't correlate with a knowledge function because it's not a knowledge function. It's like it's like a processor, you know. It's sort of separate from any of the either architecture or the operating system or application of the operating system. It's almost like a hardware kind of thing, you know. And then the other factor is there does seem to be base level, almost machine code versions of every one of the functions that make it so that nobody is so bad at something that they cease to be a functional human being.
Yeah.
Although so it's like, I'm not, no matter how SI polar you are, if I start pounding your leg with a hammer, you will be, to some extent, incapacitated by that and compelled to attend to your SI. You will not be able to avoid paying attention to the pain if it gets bad.
Yeah. It gets to that
no
point.
matter how polar you are. So the same thing is true with me and polar FI. It may take me 2.5 years to get out of the abusive relationship, but eventually my feelings will build up and build up and build up, and
itchiness.
Yeah, man. What's my favorite Eminem song?
That's a good question.
It is a good question. Without Me is pretty good. Not my favorite.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's a good part, yeah. But
Look who's back. Tell a friend. Look who's back. 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 Look who's back.
Shady. This is back again. Shady's back. Tell a friend. Shady's back. Shady's back. Shady's back. You got it. Cause I'm Slim Shady, yes, I'm the real Shady. All the other Slim Shadys are just imitating, so won't the real Slim Shady please stand up? Please stand up. Please stand up.
I always have liked two Trailer Park Girls go around the outside.
Yeah, that is great.
He created a monster. Nobody listens to him.
Yeah, I used to know so much. I will say that the one that gets stuck in my head the most is Let It Go, or what? You know, you gotta never let it go. You only got one shot. You not lose your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime. You better move yourself in the moment.
Or lose yourself, right?
Yeah, lose yourself.
Yeah, that's
That's
a good one. That's a classic, obviously. I'd say Criminal is also a really good song. Because I'm a criminal.
Well, that's a good one.
Criminal. Then also the first song on that same album, which is When I Was Just a Little Baby Boy, Mama used to tell me my favorite thing. She used to say I was an evil man. She used to say he hated me. And then I got a little bit older and we was around. And then they say I can't rap about coke no more. They say I can't rap about they say I can't rap about coke no more.
Kill you?
Slut think I won't choke no more till her vocal cords don't work in her throat no more. You motherfucker thinking I'm playing too. That's a good song. That's a fun
I know
one.
that song too.
Obviously kind of offensive, but
being with you makes me realize how much of a Eminem song fan I really am. Like, he was a big part of my teens. Yeah, I listened to Slim Shady because I was a big MTV nerd. So, and he was all over like MTV.
Drugs really got a hold of me. That song always resonated with me. There are times that resonated with me more. And yeah, it's a good song.
Is that from Pee-Pee? Oh no, that's probably from me.
You know,
What is
drugs
that
really
from?
got a hold of me. This is Ash.
Oh,
You know that song? Drugs really got a hold of me.
I don't know.
It's a good one.
I might.
It's from his first album.
I don't know. A lot of stuff. If you play it for me, I'll remember.
Yeah. There's also this diss track he made. Benzino, towards Benzino, I think is the other guy's name. The target of the diss track called "Nail in the Coffin." That's pretty badass.
That
That is-
sounds.
it's like how you might see video something where there's like some young like hip hop people, right? And like one of the people like burns the other one and they go like, oh, they do all that stuff.
Yep, I do that.
This that song, it just make you go like that throughout the whole thing.
That's so
in the
great.
Coffin. It's such a he so demolishes poor Benzino. Of course,
I don't even know who Benzino is,
Yeah,
but they definitely challenged him because a lot of people do.
it's the second song actually, or the second Eminem contribution to that battle back and forth between them. There's the first one too. I forget the name of. It's also quite good, but put a link to it here.
When was it? When did this come out?
Hi. So I
Thank
just listened to
you.
that song there.
Tiny Man 66. Yeah, that was fun.
I gotta say, I don't like that song, Kim. I'm not fond of it, but in general, I gotta say, I actually felt this weird feeling of like type pride listening to that. Like, I'm happy to know that, like that's my type. Yeah, that's my type. I feel that with that song.
Yeah, no, totally.
He just so
Oh my gosh,
destroys
I
the
was
fuck
so-
out of the guy. And then
yeah.
the choruses.
And-
I don't really want to be like that. I don't want to hurt no feelings. It's so ENTP, the whole thing is.
Isn't that cool what CJ O'Connell has to say?
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, actually, Tiny Man 66. I was saying, the conversation we were having, Rachel and I, about that song was related to, like, I was expressing, like, puzzlement about the kind of overt, well, what Rachel has a perfect term for, big dick attitude or something like that? Or?
Big dick energy.
Big dick energy. Okay, yeah. So that big dick energy, yeah, I've heard Kill Shot. It's pretty good. I mean, it's good. It kills him, but it's I don't like his newer stuff as much in general. Anyway, back to the subject of the big dick energy of
Cardi B.
Cardi B. It is, I think the song's quite effective. Obviously, I mean, it's got so many billions of whatever. But the thing is, it's not, in my mind, it's not like sexually alluring at all. But what I was sort of puzzling through is that what she's trying to be? Are there guys who think that that's attractive, that kind of overt sexual vulgarity?
She was a stripper.
So okay, I mean, it's, I guess,
So.
not foreign to her then.
No.
So the thing is, I'm not quite sure. It's like, I guess she may be just. I mean, I don't. I'm not saying anything about Cardi B in general, but I think that song is a successful work of art for sure. It's even something. It's like I asked Delilah if she had heard it in the car this morning. And then we put it on in the car, and she proceeded to rap along with it the whole way through. So she was very familiar with it. And, it is pretty, it's successful as it's sort of the archetype of a genre of stuff that didn't have a true archetype of it before. Yeah, I am talking about that. So I just talking about that one track. I'm not talking about her in general or anything else. There's also that song that Alan Bryan left that one time for us.
Oh my god, I love that song.
What's it called? Like,
Show My Ass
Show
or
My
something?
Ass by, you know who it's by?
Oh my god, it's so good. It's some British chick. That's not like that too. What is that? I can never find it on Spotify.
Let me look it up.
Let me go show my ass. Da, 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 da. It's so good.
Yeah, this is. I really.
Shake that ass, rock them bills.
I would say that the beat maker here is definitely letting their innie go. Like they got a lot of different parts of the beat that it's like, oh well, I want to use them all,
And they do successfully.
It works anyway because it's the.
You got show my ass. That's it.
The vocals, Dominique Young Unique.
Okay, I gotta find it.
Because the vocals are so consistently one way the whole way through,
What is her name?
Dominique Young Unique. Well said, Bacon. Well said. You took the words right out of my mouth. Because I'm a criminal. We did discuss Criminal already, by the way, as a good song. This fucking puppy's lucky I haven't blasted its ass yet. That's the line from that song. Another Eminem song I like a lot that may be actually a D12 song, I'm not sure, is One Shot, Two Shot. That's one of my very favorite Eminem songs.
She doesn't have it listed. That's a shame.
Ben Shapiro does the best cover of WAP. Ben Shapiro really do a cover of WAP? That's funny. It's interesting to know. Oh, here's gunshots. The things run stuff. Yeah. I like the part where the guy goes, I'm in the mood to strut. My AK ain't even tucked. I meet you to the club and fuck these hoes up. I like that part. Well, maybe Ben Shapiro is an EHP then. I had the same idea. Like, it occurred to me to cover that. But now, of course, I won't. I prioritize novelty too much. But maybe he is an EHP. He's a sourpuss of an EHP if he is.
Who?
Ben Shapiro. But he could be an ENTJ. I mean, or ESTJ. That's what I meant to say. But potentially could be an ENTJ as well. Either of those seems possible to me. 6th slot demonstrative NE or 3rd slot NE is plausible. Seems more like ESTJ than ENTJ. Ben Shapiro was critical of the song. Well, no, I didn't see it. All right, I'm gonna have to wrap up this live stream. You can buy Ben Shapiro's an ISP. It's not impossible. Who's calling?
My bank.
You want to answer it or no?
I don't know. Because, I feel like if it'll be settled,
All right, yeah, we'll do it. Okay. Okay, so anyway, I'm gonna go because my dad's gonna be home shortly to eat, and if he's not quite home yet, I think I might real quick run to the gas station to get another pack of cigarettes. Because I want cigarettes. If he's already home, then it was too late.
Oh, can I go with you?